Former President Barack Obama just delivered the knockout punch to Donald Trump in what I think may have been one of Obama's best speeches yet. He gave a speech at the opening of his presidential library. He began by talking about how this nation, on our 250th birthday, should always remember, no kings. Let's play this clip right here.
A declaration that we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that in the newly independent United States, there will be no kings or lords, no serfs or subjects, but only citizens, each of us free to pursue our own version of happiness and able to determine our collective fate through an elected representative government. It had not been done.
Powerful words indeed. Former President Obama then talked about how, with everything going on in the world, I'm not immune to anger or doubt, but I do know this, a powerful message that we should all be listening to. Let's play this clip.
I get it. I am not immune to anger or doubt. But I do know this. When we lose faith in each other, when we stop believing that voting matters, that citizenship matters, that our collective voices matter, that how we treat each other no longer matters, then we give away our power to decide our own futures. We open the door to the most ruthless or the most careless or the most fearful among us, who see some groups and some people as more equal than others, and see government as nothing more than a way to divvy up the spoils and punish enemies and keep those who are different in their place. I do not believe that is the story of America that prevails in the end. I don't believe it because for us to give up, for us to give in now, after all this country's been through, to cynicism and division would be a betrayal of our founding ideals, a betrayal of our faith. And I remain convinced that the overwhelming majority of Americans feel the same way. That as unsettled as we are, people aren't looking for perpetual anger and division. They are looking for fairness and common sense and mutual respect. That deep in our gut, we want to find a way to turn towards each other again, not further away.
Former President Obama also talks about how when American foreign policy lives up to our highest ideals, lives up to our values, when we champion human rights and democracy, we can take the lead in very important ways. And obviously, he's building a major contrast here between himself and Donald Trump. Let's play it.
Yes, America has made its share of foreign policy mistakes. Our actions have not always matched our rhetoric. We've learned that we can't solve every conflict or stop every atrocity around the globe, but at our best, the United States has been an undeniable force for good in the world. And what I heard on every continent as president is that when American foreign policy lives up to our highest ideals, when we champion human rights and democracy and the sound stewardship of our planet, when we take the lead in eradicating disease and feeding the hungry and educating children, when we encourage cooperation between nations, instead of trying to dominate and bully and squeeze every advantage just because we can. And most of all, when we show through our example here at home that even a country as big and diverse as ours can make democracy work. It turns out all nations, including ours, become more prosperous and secure. And the world gets a little bit brighter.
And then he goes in to talk about forming a more perfect union, how our founders in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution made some major errors, some catastrophic ones. However, they left a framework for future generations to perfect the union. Here, play this clip.
To pursue our own version of happiness and able to determine our collective fate through an elected representative government. It had not been done. And because it hadn't been done before, the success of this experiment was never a given. In forming our union, the founders fell terribly short of the Declaration's promise, leaving slavery intact, allowing states to restrict the franchise to white men who own property. But in drafting a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, they did have the foresight, the genius, to provide us with a framework that allows each generation to make our union more perfect. And over more than 2 centuries, through petitions and protests, marches and strikes, moral appeals from the pulpit, and conversations at the family dinner table, men and women from all walks of life, of every color, every faith, every region, took up the cause of democracy and made it their own, until we, the people, came to include not just some of us, but all of us.
You know, there are certain things that make you feel good. Maybe it's celebrating a win, helping someone out, or just taking a moment for yourself during a busy day. For me lately, it's been cracking open an Olipop. Olipop is the feel-good soda. It delivers that classic soda taste I love, but with 6 grams of fiber and less sugar than a traditional soda. Plus, it contains a functional ingredient blend that supports digestive health. And if you're watching the video version right now, you'll notice these refreshed Olipop cans from their 6-gram fiber line. It's the same Olipop I've already loved, full of flavor and digestive health support, but now with a fresh new look that really shows off the feel-good soda inside. I also love that Olipop is made with real ingredients and a thoughtful formulation. They're a category-defining brand with a mission to impact health at scale, and that's something that I could absolutely get behind. Right now, you can get a free can of Olipop. Buy any 2 cans of Olipop in store, and they will pay you back for one. It works on single cans of any flavor at any retailer. Just head to drinkolipop.com/Meidas. That's drinkolipop.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. You can find Olipop in the soda aisle and with the chilled beverages at thousands of retailers nationwide, including Target and Walmart.
Then Obama showing his trademark humility in contrast to Donald Trump. Obama talks about how when he was in office, they didn't accomplish everything. In fact, he made mistakes. He made errors. And at the presidential library, the exhibits reflect unfinished work. It's candid and honest about mistakes that were made. Let's play this clip.
Now, of course, we did not accomplish everything we set out to do. No administration does. Some of the exhibits reflect unfinished business. In some cases, my own shortcomings and mistakes. In some cases, because, as a sign I kept on the Resolute desk read, hard things are hard. And that's especially true in a big, raucous, diverse, argumentative democracy like the United States of America. Everybody's got an opinion. And that means getting stuff done involves reconciling the demands of a couple of 100 million people. Democracy can be frustrating. It can be slow. It can be inefficient. And yet, more than anything, I hope this center will serve as an affirmation of just how special, how precious our democracy truly is, and remind us what we can achieve when we embrace our shared responsibilities as citizens.
And then former President Obama talks about how the exhibits here are focused not just on policies, but our shared values. Let's play it right here.
Lincoln's Bible and a pamphlet by Ida B. Wells, suffragist buttons, and a hard hat worn by FDR's Labor Secretary, Francis Perkins. And it's why the exhibits here focus not just on policies, but on the shared values that make democracy possible. A belief in the intrinsic dignity and worth of all people, and that no one is above the law or beneath its protection. A belief in checks and balances in our government and an accountability that comes with an independent judiciary and a robust free press. A belief that our military and law enforcement owe allegiance not to any president or political party, but to the people and our Constitution. A belief in the peaceful transfer of power after the people have spoken in fair and free elections, recognizing that in a large, complicated society like ours, no group or faction gets its way 100% of the time. And a belief that qualities of character, honesty, integrity, kindness, compassion, a sense of duty and honor, those things matter in our public dealings, just as they do in our private lives. These are not these are the values and traditions I believe in. And they are not Republican or Democratic values. They're American values we can all share, regardless of party. Values every president here today, as different as we are, has tried our best to uphold. Values that John McCain and Mitt Romney believed in no less than I did. It is our greatest inheritance.
And Obama talks about a declaration that we are all created equal, as I showed you at the outset of this video. Let's play it.
And remind us what we can achieve when we embrace our shared responsibilities as citizens. And since we're a few weeks away from America's 250th birthday, it is worth remembering just how radical the whole idea of self-government really was back in 1776. To that point, human history was a tale of conquest and caste and rigid hierarchies. A world where the strong dominated the weak, where power and wealth and status flowed through lineage, and the many were ruled by the few. But out of the fire and steel of a revolution, a different story took flight on this continent. A declaration that we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that in the newly independent United States, there will be no kings or lords, no serfs or subjects, but only citizens, each of us free to pursue our own version of happiness and able to determine our collective fate through an elected representative government. It had not been done. And because it hadn't been done before, the success of this experiment was never a given. In forming our union, the founders...
Powerful words indeed. And here's what he said about the speech that was just delivered by former First Lady Michelle Obama that I also put on this feed on the MeidasTouch network. And this is just, just the humanity, just being real with us. I miss this. Let's play this clip.
To Michelle, she did me wrong. She wouldn't let me see her speech. She knew she was going to mess me up, and she did it anyway. But she's always made me better. And I could not be more grateful. And to Sasha and Malia, what can I say? You mean everything to me.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you thought about that speech by former President Barack Obama. Powerful, powerful stuff. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.